Hello, everyone, and welcome to Indie Game Arcade, a podcast all about indie games. In this episode, we are talking about Tyrant's Realm and Blade Chimera. My name is Chris.
I'm Joseph.
The first game we have here is almost like it was made exclusively for you, I feel like. They looked at like your games specifically on Steam, and they were just like, okay, let's make one for this guy.
It's definitely a targeted ad at a person like me and any similar Souls-like fans. But I'll tell you why in a minute.
Game start!
So, Tyrant's Realm released January 16th, 2025. Developed by Team Tyrant, aptly named, and published by Skystone Games. The price is pretty low at $9.99 right now. As of recording, it is $8.49 on sale. And for a brief description, Tyrant's Realm is a roguelike action-adventure inspired by classic PS1 visuals. Explore procedurally generated dark fantasy worlds, battling through dangers that evolve with each run. Death is not the end, as the night is still young. So they've got like a little bit of like a backstory for the game too, which I didn't know until like seeing your notes here. So I guess I didn't look enough at the Steam page to. I
mean, it's definitely not about the story as much
you
as it
wouldn't
is
know.
just the experience.
You definitely wouldn't know. But because this was a game that you were wanting to bring to the table, why don't you go ahead and kind of introduce us to the world here of Tyrant's Realm?
Yeah, so like we said at the top, it's a Souls-like in combat and really game feel in general. But since it's a roguelike, also there are elements that it's pulling from that instead. So what I mean is, like, you're not going to find a bonfire here because, like, if you die, you just start the whole thing over. That's the roguelike section. But it does have dodge rolling. It does have Estus Flask equivalent potions. I really don't know what they're called in this game. I just call them all Estus Flask. You've got your light, heavy attacks in the same fashion of, like, this heavy ones being slow, light ones being your swifter ones. Your special abilities are dependent on what equipment you're wearing. So like a piece of armor or a shield will have some kind of passive. Well, shields will usually have a passive ability on them where it's like your rolls and your dodge rolls and your your running doesn't cost stamina or something. I know that's one of the shields. Or the armors will have abilities on them where it's like this one lets you stomp the ground and hit everybody around you. And that's on some kind of cooldown. So it's not like you're learning these abilities. They just are all item dependent.
Yeah.
It also has blocking and parrying. And the blocking is the parrying window is pretty wide. So it's not too hard to pull off. But the blocking is what you're probably going to be doing most of the time because unlike a lot of Souls-like games, you don't take any damage when you block in this game. Right. So it's not a percentage damage, or chip damage, is nothing. Like you block, you're good. You will take some stamina drain from it, of course. You can't just block infinitely. But when a big attack's coming up and you don't have time to dodge roll or you just want to like tank it, you can literally just block it and you'll be fine. So that's a pretty big difference I noticed right off the bat. And I get why they did that, just because it makes at least your initial run of this a lot more welcoming than it would have been if they'd had a whole mechanic of like, well, this weight of shield blocks this much damage. Only the really heavy shields block all the damage. I think that might be too much for a game like this.
Yeah, I think for a roguelike, they've got to be like slightly more forgiving than a traditional Souls-like. Because otherwise, like, the return folks are going to get on it and their like initial first few runs are going to be so discouraging because, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, I think that's where this game is a lot more welcoming for people who may not even be like into the Souls-like genre, or at least very timid about it because they don't feel like, or they feel like it's too hard. I think this game has a really good balance of still feeling fairly difficult, but if you are someone who's familiar with Souls-like games, you've played a ton of them, you know the mechanics, it's going to feel pretty easy for you, at least initially. It has an interesting kind of like a difficulty curve where it's not very steep all the way through your initial run. I will say I have beaten this one time now, or
Nice.
after I think 3 tries. Like I beat it on my 3rd try, and as with any roguelike, there's obviously more that you are unlocking and getting as you beat it, including an additional, like a harder difficulty. So that's where it's like, I don't know if I know there's another one after this. I'm not sure how many difficulty levels it actually goes up to, but there's at least like a, hard and like very hard kind of thing. So if you feel like your first run was like just way too easy, maybe the next difficulty up will offer you I don't know, just a more challenging opportunity to take on in the way that a normal Souls-like game kind of ramps up slowly as it progresses. This one being such a small package can't really do that, or else it would have to jump difficulty levels so quickly between each of the stages that you go through. So I understand why they separated it here to be like difficulties are unlocked as you go through each run. So you're kind of like picking how hard it's going to be as you go through it.
Do you have any idea like what affects the difficulty scaling between those? Like, is it like debuffs towards your character and buffs towards enemies, or is it more like just swapping enemies out that are like harder, or do you have any idea?
The only thing I remember, it tells you like as you are choosing difficulty, like what the change is. I do remember them saying like there are elite enemies are added, whereas in your initial run there are no elite enemies. So I don't even know what that means. Like it could be that they are more tactical, or that they are faster, have different move sets, or maybe they're just damage sponges. I'm not sure. But I know they add that, and then I think like it's less generous about like some of your health regen in certain areas or something, in the classic way that a lot of like roguelikes do that, to stack it up and like add those sort of modifiers to give you that risk reward system where it's like, I'm going to add these modifiers, but I know that I'll get a lot more experience or gold or whatever if I do that, if I can make it through that run. So you're kind of dialing up your difficulty as you go through this, which I thought was an interesting way to approach it. And I mean, not that it's so different from other roguelikes in that way, but as a Souls-like that's also a roguelike, I think that's a cool way to slowly introduce difficulty to you instead of like dropping it all on you at once.
One thing I like about it too is this does look like a game that, and I know we talked about how it's more like PS1 graphics, but thematically, this is a game that very much looks like it kind of fits into the Dark Souls world. I was really into the look of everything, and I like the idea that each run you kind of start as like a prisoner leaving your cell, and then kind of like battling your way out of that prison, which was kind of neat.
I mean, that's like a very Dark Souls kind of trope.
Exactly.
Like starting as a prisoner, working your way, starting from the bottom, now you're here kind of situation. It pays homage to a lot of like the classic Dark Souls games in the sense, like so much so, or classic kind of Souls-like games, and so much so that it has a CRT filter that you can put on it. Like it's going even past the point of like, let's say Dark Souls, and even like going before that. So it is like, if Dark Souls were on PS1, this is what the experience would look like. And you're getting, like, you've got your CRT filter, you've got like some kind of pixel filter you can add on it. I didn't add any of that. I just wanted to see the game as it was. But you can adjust it in a lot of different ways. As far as the progression of this goes, you get to choose your path in the way that you would a normal roguelike. You're choosing like, I'm going to go up or left and see like what this offers, or bottom and see what that offers. I think it's like dynamically, I'm trying to think. No, it's not even, I don't think it's dynamically generated levels, because as I'm remembering them, the 3 times I tried it, I believe the path that I took, they were all laid out the same. But you do get to choose like which path you take. I think there are 3, like a top, a middle, and a bottom. But you're not going to get like a unique experience like you would in some of the other games we played, where it's like oh, it might be different when I go up the top way this time. Like there might be different stuff up there. It's going to be the same levels and the same bosses each time.
Right.
I'm not sure if difficulty or the adding up to the challenge changes any of that. So it's a pretty like bite-sized adventure overall. But for less than $10, it seems definitely worth it. So on to the more of the progression portion of it. As you finish each of the levels, you'll fight a boss of that level. Then, well, between each of these, there's a merchant that is where you drop off your item schematics that you're picking up from dropped enemies. That's what lets you unlock weapons for that run and for future runs that you can pick up later. The weapons and items come in a variety of like either red, yellow, or green. Red is wrath. Green is like, I don't remember what the other ones were.
Green was humility, I believe.
Oh, humility. Yeah. I don't remember what yellow was, but
I don't either.
All of those, like the only difference that I really saw, obviously it's different armor types. And as you go to these little like skull shrines that appear in various levels, that's what lets you kind of upgrade your abilities, sort of like a bonfire in that way. But it's a lot more straightforward where it's like, okay, if you take the yellow one, then your yellow items will be powered up by this much percentage, your weapon, your shield, and your armor, and your overall health will be upgraded by a certain percentage too. As you get more upgrades in, I think the max level I got to with the green run that I was doing was like level 7 in that. But as you add more to that, there's diminishing returns because you're getting less and less of both bonuses to your items and health bonuses if you stick on just a single path. Like if I just chose green, at a certain point, I'm going to be getting like maybe 10% extra health, like 5% bonus stuff to my armor and weapons. Whereas if I chose a red one instead, then that's going to give me 40% extra health. But since I'm not using red items, the item buffs wouldn't mean anything to me. So you kind of have to like pick and choose where it's like, do I want to really hyper focus on just wearing a single color set? Or do I want to mix and match so I can be really getting the most out of this extra health that these boosts are providing? So I think you're going to find yourself in a spot where you are mixing and matching a lot. But I just tried to do a pure green run to see what that was like.
So I'm glad you brought up like this part of the game because it clarifies something for me that I was unsure about because I only did one run and I was unsure probably because I didn't pay enough attention during like the tutorial or something. So like when I went to one of those shrines, I was unsure if it was just going to apply said bonuses to like the stuff I was currently wearing. And then like if I, swap that out for a different gear, if then I would lose those bonuses or something. So I was like paranoid, like I'm like, oh man, I don't want to like upgrade this sword now like to a different sword because then what if I lose this bonus? But what it sounds like it's just kind of like this is applying it to the essentially like the slots or something like that, like rather than that specific item at that time. Is that right?
It's applying it to the color more than anything. If you go the red path and all of those bonuses it says it gives you to your weapon, armor, and shield, those will only apply to red weapon, armor, and shields. But you can interchange those as long as they are still red.
Yeah, still the same color of...
Yeah. But it's not item specific where you're not upgrading or leveling up an individual item. You're just leveling up your overall usage of that type of item, which is great because with as short as this is, like that would be really tough to keep track of all of that and only be upgrading single weapon. So it's really good that they have it as a general upgrade.
I don't think I even ran into a red in my run. I think I only ran into green and yellows. And mostly green at that. So that's kind of like what I went for. But like I did have a sword for a while that was just like super high damage. And that was great.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you've got your basic different weapon types. The only difference being like I with weapons, specifically speed and damage, I don't remember. There was like a third stat. I don't remember what that stat was, but your focus is going to be that mainly. Like, am I going to use like a dagger, which is going to be super fast but do less damage if I just want to like get in, do some stabs, do some pokes, and then like jump out? Or am I going to go for a big broadsword that's going to be slow but do a ton of damage? So it's making those choices again. And I think this game is slow paced enough. There's not a point that I hit where I was like, oh man, I wish I had a faster weapon because this enemy is too quick for me, or that I was being punished for using a slow weapon. It is very slow paced in that way. Maybe the elite enemies change that up. I'm not sure. But in the initial run, you're going to be like, oh, this is pretty slow paced and forgiving, but stuff does do a ton of damage if it does hit you. So that's the caveat. God, the caveat is like, yeah, it's easy to dodge stuff because your dodge window is very forgiving. It's easy to block stuff because you 100% block and you can parry. But if you miss those things or just don't do them, you're going to take a ton of damage for every hit you take. So I think that's the trade-off of it having that very forgiving system.
Yeah, there's a couple of those bosses where like you'll get hit and it feels like you've lost 3/4 of your health just immediately. Oh, yeah. And yeah, it's just you're immediately like rolling backwards and panicking and trying to drink your flask while trying also not to get like killed mid-drink.
Even some of the smaller enemies can do a lot of damage if you're not careful. So yeah, it's methodical in that way, but not as like panic inducing as some of the later, well, some of just any of the Souls-like games can be. There are even dog enemies, which are like the bane of a lot of like Souls fans' existence, but they're really not very hard either. Because I was worried when I saw the dogs, but it's like, okay, they just jump at you once and if you block it or dodge it, you're fine. It's not like the multi-attacks that the normal dogs do in these games. So yeah, all in all, I think my experience with it was pretty good. Well, I guess for art and sound, it has the PS1 style art as far like we were saying before. And the sound is just kind of like an ominous, like overall tone that matches the style of the game. So nothing like standoutish for me, but it was good enough.
I had some fun with it too. Like as someone that doesn't usually play Souls-likes that much, like the most I think I've played really was when you and I played Elden Ring together for a little while. Oh, yeah. Aside from that, like Souls-like is usually not my shtick. The closest other than that I think I've ever gotten is Cult of the Lamb, which is very light in that kind of category. It just mainly has a few Souls-like elements to it rather than being a Souls-like. But I had a really fun time with this, to be honest. It's one that I would play, multiple times. So like I'm actually excited to go and play it some more.
Yeah, and I could break it down mechanically a lot more for Souls-like fans specifically, but I'm not going to because I know like I don't want to get too in the weeds.
You'll be here all day.
I could be. And so for a more general audience, I'll just give you my initial experience with it, which I at first like what feels like a very bite-sized experience overall. It ends up being a pretty fun one, and especially for the price you're paying. It's more slow paced than typical Souls-like games, like I was saying, and very punishing if you don't take advantage of that generosity. But I think that it maybe took me about 3 tries to beat. So if I were more careful, like I was also working at the same time, so it's like I had to keep going like back and forth between the two. So if I hadn't been distracted by that, I think I probably could have done it on my first try if I'd really kind of locked in. It's something I could easily see Souls veterans doing on their first try very easily. After you beat the initial run, though, that's where you unlock the next highest difficulty, and it introduces the elite enemies along with other detriments to you to make your run a little bit more difficult. I don't know how many there are total, so I'm not sure really how much outside of like at least 2 additional difficulties and whatever those add there is going to be. You've got a ton of weapon unlocks that are kind of inconsequential in the grand scheme of things. Some of them do more damage, some of them are faster, et cetera, et cetera. Visually, it's cool. So it's kind of like if you're into like the whole fashion Souls aspect of it, then there's a lot to choose from here. But I don't know how much you're going to be like really kind of min-maxing your layout or anything, because they don't seem too different to me. I didn't get a chance to do a run on the next difficulty because I was busy, so I don't know what the elite enemies actually have to offer for you. And the difficulty, like I said, is different from normal Souls-like games because instead of ramping up as you progress, it just gives you those like preset difficulties of each run, which for this type of game and the way that it's working, I think is probably the best option. So if you enjoy like classic Souls-like games that are more slower paced, like probably Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, even to a degree, and you just wanted to see what that feels like as a with roguelike elements to it, so you can just have like single runs of a fun Dark Souls experience, then I think this one is definitely worth a shot for you. It may not be as tough or as deep and cryptic as the games that inspired it, but there is a story here. I haven't really locked into exactly what it is, but it's at least a mechanical love letter to the genre that the team who made this are clearly inspired by. I don't know how much additional content there is, like I said, or how deep it gets, but I've already gotten my $9 worth of fun out of it, so it was worth it to me. Everything else just a bonus.
It's interesting too because it kind of mashed your two like favorite genres together, and like with a roguelike and with a Souls-like.
Yeah.
And especially one that looks like a Dark Souls sort of thing, since like those FromSoft games tend to be some of your favorite games to play. So
yeah, it's like a Dark Souls demake in a way, but mechanically it's a lot smoother than it looks. I promise you. It looks like it'd be like kind of chunky and like tank control-y, but no, it's very smooth. So you will not have issues with that.
It's interesting too that this game came out, and it came out not that long after FromSoft had announced that they were making or at least announced their spinoff of Elden Ring, which is going to be an Elden Ring roguelike called, was it Night Rain? So
yeah,
that's interesting. So. Now I'm curious to see how much, I mean, obviously there's going to be some major differences, especially as far as look and everything, but I'm curious to see how much similarities, though, that there are as far as how they play. Because like we said, mechanically, this is essentially just a Souls-like within a roguelike format. So I think the only other thing I know about Night Rain is that it's going to be co-op for, I think, up to 6 players or so.
I'd be curious to see like what elements it pulls from, maybe not pulls from this game, but what it has in common with this game that are just good general ideas for a Souls-like roguelike. And also this then would probably be a good one to play as a warm-up to that one.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I wonder if this game really beat them to the punch on something. Like, that's what I'm really interested to see. Like, if Night Rain comes out and it's like, oh, we kind of saw them already do this with Tyrant's Realm. So that'll be interesting. It's a really cool game. It's very much worth, your $9. It's such a small price point.
I don't know if there are really, I guess there are some other like roguelike Souls-like games, maybe not just to the degree that this one is directly inspired by like the Dark Souls style. Yeah. But, like Curse of the Dead Gods, now that I'm thinking of it, is technically a Souls-like roguelike, but it is a 3/4 view top-down thing, not this same kind of perspective. I bet there's a ton of others. Mortal Shell, actually, that's one I played, and I think that might be a roguelike. I don't know. There are other examples, but this one I think is a good kind of like simplified version of both of those compiled together.
I feel like we need more game genres that have like at the end, so we can string more of those together. Souls-like, roguelike. What else can we? We need to coin some new ones.
What do you got? There's farming sims. Those could be like farm sim likes. No, not it can't just be farm-like. Chore-like.
Yeah, because it's all about doing chores. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I had to jump off of Animal Crossing. It was like, wait, why am I playing this? I'm just doing chores.
Why am I spending so much time hanging decorations in this house that I don't want?
Designing a house that I don't actually live in and no one's gonna see.
Yeah, paying taxes to Tom Nook, that son of a bitch.
Yeah, that feels way too much like real life.
New game!
For our next game, we have Blade Chimera, which came out also on January 16th, 2025. This was developed by Team Ladybug and WSS Playground, published by Playism and WSS Playground. Price is $19.99, currently on sale as of recording for $17.99, and it is also part of a bundle that you can get with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night for $46.38 as a little deal. For a quick description, Blade Chimera is a 2D action platformer set in a dystopian demon-infested Osaka. Players control Shin, a demon hunter armed with a transforming demon sword named Lux, navigating a richly detailed pixel art world. So this is very much a Metroidvania-style game with a lot of, I would say, anime inspiration and in like a cyberpunk almost meets Ghost in the Shell sort of vibe to it. And I had a really good time with this one, man. I really liked this. Why don't you, because you're kind of our mechanics guy, can I call you our mechanic? I'm going to call you your mechanic-like.
Metroid, yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah, explain the mechanics of this one a little bit.
The mechanics are pretty straightforward as far as the combat goes. You have your gun and your primary weapon is going to be, I don't know honestly if you can put a melee weapon in there. It's probably going to be your ranged weapon, and your secondary is going to be your melee. I would say from my experience that the melee weapon is much stronger and my preference, at least early on.
Yes.
I know there are other guns you can get, but they were just not doing it for me most of the time. It was a lot easier just to go up and slash things. And much more powerful. So you've got your two weapons initially. Then once you unlock Lux, which is very early on, it, I guess, is essentially your demonic companion that acts as a third type of weapon of sorts, and also your traversal mechanic is all reliant on that. And there's a shield that comes out of it. So there's a lot of different things mechanically you can do with that specifically. There are certain things that are sort of ghost of the past of these, let's say, walls or something, where as you approach it, you are queued up to press a button, and then Lux will come out and actually like make that item either appear or disappear depending on what its state was in the past. And that's how you can either get some sort of boost in order to jump up to a higher spot, or go through a wall that may have not been there before. Things like that are really mechanically interesting. They're very experimental with the way that they were using a lot of this. Some of it feels kind of arbitrary. It's like, okay, cool, there's no wall there. There was a wall there. It's whatever. But some of it's really neat, where the way that you have to sort of find a way to keep Lux alive while also traversing through some of this, because at least as you're going through this base, there's a lot of anti-demon devices there, like these UV light kind of things that you literally cannot step through that without it burning Lux. And I don't know what happens if Lux dies, but I assume you fail.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So I never got to that point, but what you have to do is like, okay, well, this straight path through is just this UV light. But since Lux can travel through walls, you're like, okay, I'm going to sit you down up here. Then I'm going to go past the UV lights myself, because I see there's a spot that I can jump up here and pull you directly through the wall. And because she's going to come directly to you, like on whatever path. So you can't pull her like through the UV light. But if you like jump up, you can position her in such a way where she'll pull directly through and damage any enemies along the way too, which I thought was neat. but mainly to keep her safe from the UV lights. And I thought that was an interesting kind of puzzle mechanic added to it that made it like, okay, I need to find a clever way to get you over here. I cannot just continue traversing without you.
Sometimes it's not straightforward either, because like I remember one specifically, I was just like, how the heck am I supposed to get her to me? Because it was like the first few times that happens, it was sort of a case of you plant her in the ground, you get up to the platform above and call her and she'll come straight up through like the floor. And then there was this one where it ended up being like she would have had to have come back to me at like an angle, and it wouldn't have worked with her on the floor. And I was not figuring out for a split second like what I needed to do. And it was like, oh, okay, I need to embed her in the wall to make this work. And I love the traversal mechanics with her, like the idea of like jump, embed her in the wall, and then, jump off of her like as a platform, then recall her to you. And like you do that a lot.
I don't know if I've said that, but I probably should have prefaced with like the she we're speaking of is a giant sword. So it's not like there's this woman we're planting into walls and jumping
we're just
on top
throwing
of.
this lady like slapping her face into a wall. No. Yeah, she's like she takes a woman form sometimes, but like only to talk to you, but otherwise she's a sword.
Right, she's taken the form of a sword, and that is also what allows you are a demon hunter, and so is the entire team you're working with. So it's what allows her to disguise herself on you, because the whole situation that sets them off together is she kind of saves your life by you offering something. You have to offer something to her in order for her to save your life, or at least like have some kind of symbiosis going on to stay alive in this dire situation. And that's what sets the two of you kind of with each other. And the protagonist, Shin, is pretty quickly accepting of the fact it's like, okay, cool, we're working together now. There's a little bit of resistance at first, but the writing's not, the best or anything. So it's kind of like corny, and it's what brings them together. And then that is just sort of almost like thrown away, where it's like, okay, cool, we're a team now. Like he accepts it very quickly, which to move the story along, I understand. Like that's fine. But it's just funny just how quickly this demon hunter accepts a demon as this companion. So that's just part of the setup.
Yeah, I almost kind of took it. I mean, I took it in stride because like I feel like something needed to happen before that. Because like as this story progresses, we see, that Shin's part of this order called the Holy Union, which is, that union of demon hunters and stuff, and has kind of like a bishop type figure of it. Like it's a very religious sort of organization of demon hunters with this, bishop type guy at the head named Bale, which, I mean, who trusts that guy? I don't trust him. We know that there's something shady going on within there.
Absolutely.
I feel like if they would have introduced the idea, like planted that seed of doubt about the Holy Union first, because like very quickly, like Shin starts to have some doubts about what's going on and also about his perception of demons, that then I think the team up would have been a little bit more, acceptable without as much suspension of disbelief there. Like it would have been a little bit more natural if it was just like he's already starting to mistrust what's going on. He already has problems with the idea of maybe not all demons are bad, or maybe demons aren't exactly what we think they are.
It just feels like it skipped a step leading to that point.
Yes.
But it's like that's slowly being revealed, but it's like I wish we'd gotten at least some breadcrumbs of that a little earlier.
Oh, one more mechanic is like when she makes that shield, you can like throw her down, like thrust her down in the ground, create like a domed shield around you that will block everything. And
did you fight those dudes who like had some kind of like they were like big dog statue kind of things, and their head would kind of extend, and you had to use her to kind of. Okay, that's when mechanically things start to get pretty intense. Where you're like, okay, I need to use everything at my disposal. I cannot just rely on my weapons or using her for just traversal. I need to use her as a part of my whole kit. because what happens is like they will shoot kind of a projectile of their head at you that's like kind of like a spectral thing, and you have to, it will either hit you directly if you try to do anything else, or you can use Lux to block it in a way, or at least like it attaches to this head and the head retracts back to that body, and then it does like a small explosion, so it damages that enemy. And then while that enemy is kind of like stunned from that, that's when you can go and try to finish it off. But there's like no other, you could probably just go like beat it down, but you would be taking a lot of damage in the process since you can't stop the head in any other way. So it's thinking of it from the perspective of like, okay, I need to do this to take out this guy. And there's these other enemies that shoot just a ton of projectiles at you so quickly that you have to put that shield up in front of you when you're taking them on, or again, you're going to take a ton of damage. So I appreciated that I felt forced even very early on to use my whole kit and not just kind of have her as a background thing that I used every once in a while. It's like, no, I have to, or else I'm going to die.
Yeah, I felt that same way when I got to the big Phoenix demon, the Titanic demon.
Yeah,
fight.
That was pretty cool.
That was another one where I felt like I had to use everything at my disposal because of all the ads that it would create that would kind of like hone in on you and everything. Like, you had to constantly shield yourself. You had to jump down during the second stage of that fight in between those gaps, have Lux create the, use that time recall thing to create a barrier above you to block stuff and then jump out. And like, it was nuts, man. It was such a cool boss fight.
So that was like the only like true boss we fought, but there was another one before that.
Well,
but
there was,
this was
was the dragon like thing at the very beginning.
That was nothing. That was nothing.
That was an easy one.
Because that was So that was pre-Lux even, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was because of that dragon that Lux had to save you after the fact. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah. So mechanically, using her, that's where it really came into play, was this Phoenix boss. So the level specifically is laid out for that reason. So I think that's kind of how the bosses are going to be, are these like practices of or these puzzles kind of aspects of using her in different ways to manipulate the level to prevent certain attacks or something like that, or even probably do certain attacks to these bosses. And I think that's just a clever way of keeping it fresh on your mind and keeping your actions sharp when it comes to doing all that. Because it's like, okay, I can't just ignore this extra thing. Even though I have 2 weapons, I need to remember she's there because I will have to utilize this.
I'm also really interested in like what is going on with and like, I'll probably talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but like, what's going on with the story of this thing? Because it's like every time we kill one of these bosses, it like crumbles away and then shows
and then, like a human comes out,
a tiny little waifu ghost, and then that crumbles away, and I'm like, wait, what happened? Why? So that's interesting.
I'm sure there's it's predictably or not, it's gonna be something like the whole like team you're working for, there's going to be some kind of weird corruption there.
Yeah.
There's going to be bad. They're going to be the bad guys in some way. And these demons they are just like kill on sight. There's going to be more to that. So it's going to end up with you having to turn against them. I'm almost certain of it, just because of the path that's already laid out so far.
Absolutely.
And, that's a little like, predictable, like I said, but also like it's still a fun story. And I think like I'd be curious to see, just because it's not so obvious yet that we know exactly how that's going to happen, even though we know it's going to happen. I'm curious to see how that pans out.
Feels very like shonen anime style story as far as that goes, and
a little bit, even though you're already a badass. Like you're not really coming to your own strength there.
Yeah, that's true. Like aside from like the journey part, it's more of like the, Shin's journey is discovering the corruption and trusting Lux. But like in a Kaiju number 8 sort of set up as far as like organization and things, like I'm getting a cool vibe like that, and I'm really excited for this. And we should mention real quick, like the art and everything of this. It is beautifully done, super detailed pixel art, very fluid animation. And the designs of everything are fantastic, especially the bosses have such cool designs. We talked about that Phoenix demon. They're called Titanic demons, these big ones. That thing looked amazing. The first time that very first boss, the dragon one, like busted his head through that that building that we were in, I like just had to take a second because I wasn't expecting it. And I was just like, holy crap, this is awesome. I was so excited.
There's also the Metroidvania aspect of it, which is, unlocking different ways to access different parts of the map, essentially, is done through you unlocking skills that you're getting points for as you level up. So, for instance, like an air dash, I had to spend a lot of points to get down to that point, or like a slide, which helps you get under different areas. So there's a lot of like areas you cannot get to until you have these things that will allow you the traversal to it. So instead of like finding an item or something that does those are things that you get as you level up, which I think by the end of it, I was level 7 or 8 or something, maybe even higher. I don't know. But I beat the whole demo and it was pretty fun. I explored like every inch of that place just to see what all I could explore. There were literally like barriers that were like demo on it, so I couldn't go past certain walls. Generally speaking, though, there was a lot for me to explore even for this just being a demo. I maybe spent like almost 2 hours on it in total. And that was just really searching every inch of it.
Yeah, I was trying to like get into as much as I could, but yeah, I think I spent about 2 hours too, and I was like looking for secrets, and like I found those like they almost look like cassette tapes, but they're something that affects your stats
for your stats and skills.
Yeah, I liked those.
I put one in that powered up my melee weapon since I was going to be using those mostly anyway.
Yeah, I used that one too.
Yeah. There are also like locked gates that I don't remember what the currency was.
They're puzzle pieces.
That's right. There's these puzzle pieces that you're picking up along the way, and depending on how many you have, there's certain areas that are locked off. Like the first area you explore has one that's locked off by 5 puzzle pieces. It's like, okay, cool. Well, I need to go find those. They give you maybe 3 in that first area. So then you have to go to the next area. If you're going to play this, unlock teleport as early as you can, because it is very important and very useful for getting around and going back to previously explored areas. And it's not like you can only teleport at certain spots. You can teleport anywhere on these other maps as long as it's not like grayed out or something, or as long as you're not in the main base or whatever. So I was very happy that it was so generous, and it wasn't just like, oh, I have to go to this one teleport zone to get to the other teleport zone and then walk my way all the way to this other area. It's like, no, you can just go teleport directly to the room you're trying to get to, which is so nice.
Yeah, that was the first thing I think I unlocked was that one, because I was like, that seems like an extremely generous thing to give or to be able to unlock right away. So I'm gonna do it because it was attainable like right within like I think, I don't know, 2 levels or something. I was able to do that. So
I thought it was kind of interesting that was even locked behind something like that, but behind like point progression, because it's like it's something you just need basically. It's like you would almost have to get that early for you to, I don't know, be of any, if you're going to explore any of this, then you need that as early as you can. So it almost feels like it should have been something that just unlocked as you leveled and wasn't like point locked, but that's, they made their choice and it's whatever. I just say buy it right away. I think it was like 3 points or something. It's not the cheapest thing, but it's also way worth it.
Overall, I had a ton of fun with this game, especially using Lux, which was my favorite aspect of the whole thing. There's just so many things that you can do with her as far as deploying the shield, platforming, using her as a weapon, which like there's a ton of things that you can unlock again with those like skills and stuff to use her differently, and not just like as a sword, but like she can do all kinds of different things like, throw like multiple daggers and all kinds of stuff. So while I don't think a lot of the random enemies, like the smaller dudes, are much of a challenge, the boss fights were really, really fun. The designs were fantastic. I was really excited every time I thought I was getting near a Titanic demon. So then when I finally got to like that Phoenix one, oh my goodness, I was so ready for it. And I'm really into this story. I can tell there's a lot to be peeled away and looked at. So it has me really wanting to play this game all the way through. So it's definitely one I'm going to be picking up and playing more of.
Yeah, I was super lukewarm on this game at first when I first started it, because I don't think it starts you out in the best way, if I'm being honest. You have your basic ass pistol. You are fighting the most bland enemies possible that are moving at like a snail's pace.
Yeah.
Even the harder, quote unquote, enemies in that same level are doing practically nothing. So I'm like, what is this? What am I playing? Like I'm facing like no kind of challenge whatsoever. Not that everything has to be like difficult or super difficult early on, but I just needed some kind of motion. Everything was so slow. And that's what I felt like that was going to be indicative of the entire experience. So that's why I started like super lukewarm on it, even though I loved the way it looked. But fortunately, after, like we've talked about a lot, after you unlock Lux, you have so much more to do. That is really the bread and butter of this game, is having Lux and using her for the puzzle mechanics, the movement, the combat even. So it's all the additional things that she adds to this game that I felt like it was missing super early on. It's like, oh, okay, there it is. That's what I was waiting for, was just some kind of excitement, something that ramps it up and makes it where you feel like you're actually doing something, not just like holding down the fire button. And that's what she offered. Also giving you a really good view into what the Metroidvania aspect of this is going to look like. So I think that there are some really cool areas too that it let us explore, even just in the demo. It's like I was saying, like those dudes with the big like ghost heads that came out. That's an area I maybe wasn't supposed to be in yet, but I'm glad that they let us at least try it out in the demo to see that things really can ramp up. And I always do appreciate the freedom to face harder sections of games like that when I can, even when I'm not supposed to, because even though I shouldn't be there yet, it really makes me curious about what they're hiding. Like, okay, I know I'm not supposed to be here yet, but maybe I can find something really cool or have some kind of like awesome item that I unlock. I think overall, like I was talking about earlier, it was maybe like a 1.5 to 2 hour demo in total, which is very generous for a demo. Even at points I thought it was going to end, it kept going. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, I'm going to keep going then. And it gives you a very good early feel about what this game has to offer, and also leaves you wanting more and looking forward to what else there is. It may not be like the best Metroidvania I've ever played or anything like that, at least not yet. But I do appreciate the experimentation of adding in all the additional things Lux can do into the mix. And while it is like what I experienced is still early on, I am excited to see what other surprises it has in store.
Yeah, it was the most fun I've had with a Metroidvania for quite a while. So I'm very excited to play more of it. And I think you can definitely see the homage. See, I said homage this time. I took the two out of your book.
I love it. You know what? I've backed off of that because it's like people say it in so many different ways. I don't care anymore. Okay. It doesn't matter.
There we go.
Do homage if you want to.
Oh, thank you. Homage. You can see, you can see the homage very much to, the games that started this genre in Metroid and Castlevania. But it does have a lot of really new ideas to offer up as well, which I really like. And apparently Team Ladybug is known for making some really cool Metroidvania style games. So I don't know what they've exactly made in the past, but if they're like this one, I'm very interested to check out what else they've made, because this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really don't know what they've made either, honestly. I've heard that before. I've heard their name before, but I'm not sure what game they're like most famous for.
Yeah, apparently, from what I understand, originally they made like fan games, and then that morphed into them making like their own games, and they were very good at it. So, and it's led them to to here. So,
oh yeah. Speaking of fan games, it looks like they did the 2D Metroidvania Record of Lotus War.
Yeah.
Did that come out yet? I thought that was, I don't
don't
know.
know.
Either way, like that, they've done that. So that's the fan aspect of it.
Sure.
And then some various other things that I've never heard of. So it looks like they started around 2018. So they're still relatively new to the game creation world.
Yeah, and I believe based in Japan, because I think WSS Playground, I think that they usually specialize in helping to localize games specifically from Japan. So I'm guessing Team Ladybug's a Japanese.
Okay, that
studio.
would explain the Asian occult element of this then.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Combo!
As far as other indie games we've been playing this week, first one was Storyteller. This was a game that came out in March of 2023. This is a storytelling puzzle game where you are given a story title and a number of panels, a couple backgrounds, some little character avatars. Then you basically have to figure out how to arrange everything within these 3 panels or 6 panels, almost like a little comic strip, in the correct way to make the title play out as intended. Then sometimes when you do complete it, you'll get a new subtitle that's added to it that will make you have to change the way that you did it and come up with a different way of still fulfilling that title and everything. So it was pretty fun. Like it was a fun, casual little game. It wasn't extremely challenging, but there was a few times I did get stumped for a little bit and really had to put on my thinking cap. But I think I beat the entire game in I want to say 3 hours or so in one sitting. So, but it was fun. I enjoyed it a lot. It's want to download it on mobile or something like that. It's free if you have a Netflix subscription. So why not? Free's good. Speaking of free, here's another free game I played. PockeDate, Pocket Dating Simulator, which came out November 27th, 2024. This is a free-to-play dating sim where you go on dates with your virtual girlfriend named Akari. Each date, you make just a couple of dialogue choices, and then the date ends, and you end up back at the menu screen to go on another date, or you can just exit the game. However, the more dates that you go on, you're going to start noticing some glitches, especially if you start treating Akari badly. It's a cute little 8-bit style game on the surface, but like many of the cute looking games that I love, beneath it is a very deeply disturbing horror game. Though I would say that this one is much, much harder to figure out than most of the other ones I've done. You really have to experiment a lot to progress this game. There's many instances too where the game will trick you into thinking that you've completed it and you're all done when you're probably not even close. And then at a certain point, the gameplay will completely change into something else. So enjoy. I had a good time with this. I think this is another game I beat in about a 3-hour period or so, maybe less than that. So I would recommend it, and I would go in as blind as you can. Don't look anything up. It's interesting. I also played Slayaway Camp 2. This came out October 28th, 2024. This is a sequel to the first Slayaway Camp game, and also kind of a sequel to the Friday the 13th Killer Puzzle game, which, as the team that made that game basically got told, no more game. And, as is the case with almost all the Friday the 13th media. So then that team went to go make Slayaway Camp with Skullface being the main character instead of Jason. This is an isometric sliding block style puzzle game meant to pay homage to slasher films of the 80s, where you move Skullface around to get to his victims, having to also account for hazards, traps, other elements that make the puzzles increasingly more difficult. There's also different skins and killers that you can earn and play as. Chucky is one of the killers you can get in this game, which is pretty cool.
Nice. Or it's probably not Chucky though, right?
I think they actually did get Chucky with this.
Oh,
one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, good.
It straight up, I think, is Chucky.
Cool.
I love the homage. There's a lot of over-the-top kills in it that add to the humor and the charm. It gets cartoonishly bloody. But I'm not finding as much enjoyment in this one so far as I did the first game. No, I haven't beat it yet. I'm want to say a third of the way through. But here's the caveat that I will give with this. I'm playing this one also on mobile. And I find the sliding aspect where you're moving Skullface or whatever killer you have around is extremely clunky on mobile. So you end up in the wrong spot constantly. I can't say that it's the same on PC for sure, but it was just really frustrating to run into that after loving the first game, which I played on mobile and never had that kind of issue with, like never had a problem, was really easy to use. So, but aside from that, the game's really cool. So also, if you have Netflix subscription, it's free to play. The last game I was going to mention that I played was Do No Harm. This has not released yet. This is supposed to come out March 6th of 2025. I mention this because I'm part of the playtest group for this game, and I just did my first play of it a couple days ago, and I really enjoyed the setup and the gameplay of it. It is a doctor simulator with a Lovecraftian twist. So you take on the role of a village doctor. This is like 1800s-ish kind of vibes, and you're diagnosing and treating patients whose ailments start getting stranger and stranger, and then creepy things start happening around you. And I would say the gameplay aspect is part Papers, Please and part Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop, in that you have a time limit each day to treat as many patients as you can and earn money, grow your reputation in the village, while you also have like a small medical journal you have to consult more often than not to make sure that you give them the right doses of the right medications. In addition, otherworldly creatures will attempt to deceive you, or you might start experiencing hallucinations, which you have to do certain things to combat, all the while still not killing your patients, because you could end up in jail. So the goal is to survive in the village 30 days. It's really interesting. It gets really creepy. I love the premise. The only drawback so far is the voice acting in the demo is really rough, just in that although when a character comes in to talk to you, you do see the text of what they're saying in like a speech bubble, like in English, but you're hearing it in a different language, which I can't tell if it's Russian or Gaelic, but something very guttural like that. Whichever it is, a lot of it is spoken so slowly and precisely that it does not sound natural at all. And some of it sounds like it was probably AI generated. So I'm hoping that doesn't carry through to the release in March. But otherwise, this is a game that I would probably pick up on release because the style of it, the look of it, the gameplay aspect is all like chef's kiss. It is really, really good. So very interesting. Very excited to see what becomes of this game in March of this year.
I think out of all of those, I would possibly play Slayaway Camp 2, but even then, puzzle games aren't generally my thing, but I appreciate the style of it enough to where I might give it a shot.
Yeah. I did see you do have PockeDate on your wish list, though. So at some point, you got
but
squirrely.
I'm never going to buy
like,
it, though. So that means
you don't have to. It's free.
If I wishlisted something that was free, that means I was maybe one day. Maybe. Because otherwise, why wouldn't I just download it?
Usually when you see that free tag, you're like, no.
Well, free or a visual novel or anything. Like, there's a lot of tags that's like, I don't know, man. It's not. Yeah.
I was surprised because it has all the tags that you usually like run away screaming from. So when I saw you listed as your friend wants this, I was like, interesting.
If I'm honest, it was probably something I saw on one of those like indie game or best indie game videos.
Oh, could be.
Okay, this looks kind of neat.
You're like, this looks interesting.
But, yeah. We'll see if anything ever comes of that. So as far as what I played, nothing. I haven't played anything else this week aside from those two games.
Yeah.
Except for Marvel Rivals, but that is not an indie game, so I will not discuss it. But if you know, you know. But they did finally release None Holy like earlier this week.
Did?
So yeah, my vampire hunting waifu nun action roguelike. So I'm excited to finally get around to playing that one. So far it seems like it's getting pretty good reviews. I think it's going to be a good time. With any luck, I'll be able to bring it to next episode with my experience.
Yeah, I didn't realize it came out because the last time I checked, when they had pulled it from its original release date, it's just been to be announced or something for like the last couple of weeks. So they must have just like figured out a new date and then whoosh, released it.
Well, no, what happened was because I looked into the devlog of that, or at least his notes, where he was saying like he's already like given it to Steam to review, and he keeps getting some pushback on certain parts of it. So there was a lot of back and forth of like it was supposed to come out on this certain day, but they're just holding it, but it is there, and so I didn't know when it was actually going to be released. But I guess whatever issue they had with it, they worked it out, and now it's out. So time to finally jump in.
Yeah, it's a pretty cheap price point too. It's like under $8.
Yeah, it's like it's $6.79 right now.
Yeah, on sale, and I mean the regular price retail is only like $7 something. So, great deal. So many indie games right now, like under that $10 price point, which is, man, I love seeing that. That's awesome. So
that's just like. It's a great time. I mean, it's always been a great time to be an indie gamer, but especially now, there's so much at your disposal. You will never run out of options. You get bored of paying like $60 or $70 for a single experience that lasts you maybe 40 hours. Here, how about have, I don't know, 20 games for that same price and get unlimited hours out of them.
Especially on like a summer sale or winter sale or something like that.
Oh my
you can
gosh,
get so many games.
Or those combo
like 20
sales.
games for $20 or something, man.
Yeah, the combo sales like Bloodstained and whatever the Chimera, the Blade Chimera one we were just talking about. Like that's a good sale right there because I don't know. There's always things like that, and I love how indie game teams are like teaming up with each other with things like that, having those combo bundles, like that's just cool. Like it just seems like a very fun little, or I don't know, just a united little world that I'm glad to be at least getting to partake in.
Final round.
As far as upcoming games on our radar, I've got 3 that I wanted to bring up. The first is Lonely Mountains Snow Riders. This is the sequel to Lonely Mountains Downhill, which was a super charming and relaxing biking game. This one is about skiing, so you can perform tricks, look for shortcuts, and try to make your best time on each course, either solo or with 2 to 8 players co-op. The first game was really, really fun. Me and you played it together, and we did like a couple Let's Plays of it on our YouTube like a few years back. So
yeah, I had a really good time with that one.
Yeah, same. So I'm really excited to check this one out. It was just such a peaceful, fun game, so I imagine this one's going to be just as good. The second one I want to bring up is AI to You, With You Till the End. This comes out January 23rd.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Again, I like games that look cute, but actually have a nice horror aspect to it. I don't know if there's a genre name for that yet, but there should be, and we should put a like at the end of it, so we'll try to come up with that. This is a game about waking up in the home of your waifu girlfriend who absolutely does not want you to leave. The game is powered by AI, meaning that you can respond in any way that you want. Literally, you can type any possible response you want, and the girlfriend will respond to it, and they will adapt to whatever you're doing or saying. So there are different levels with different AI girlfriends to escape from, and I believe a time limit in which you need to try and escape. Sounds nuts, totally my thing. They can get mad and try to murder you to keep you from leaving, to keep you all to themselves. So that's kind of where the horror aspect is coming from. You're basically kidnapped in there. So I'm just really interested in the idea that it's an adapting NPC in that way. So that is going to be really weird and pretty interesting to try out.
Yeah, I'm curious how they're doing this. Like, in what way they are. I wouldn't think they could legally pull from an actual large language model. So I'm assuming they have some kind of like small set of that in place. It just is capable of, I guess the girls are capable of pulling from to respond to conversation. I don't know exactly how all of that would be like compiled into a single game. So interesting.
I think it did say it's powered by a language model, like a large language learning model.
Maybe if they have like I'm just curious.
Let me look it up
mostly. I don't doubt it. I'm just curious how they pulled it off.
At the very bottom of the Steam page for this game, they have an AI-generated content disclosure. The developers describe how their game uses AI-generated content. All the art assets in the game are not AI-generated. NPC dialogue and voice is generated by large language model and text-to-speech technology. So it doesn't say exactly how it works, just that it does use the large language model. So
yeah, that's fascinating. But at least they didn't use AI art, so good on them for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The last one I want to bring up is Cairn. This has not been announced like when it's coming out yet. I hope they do that soon. This is a game about climbing a mountain. You can climb it however you want, and it's about planning your route, managing your resources, and exploring while the mountain and its atmosphere is beautiful and unforgiving. I saw a trailer for it, and I thought it looks absolutely stunning. Very simple, but definitely a game that seems like it'll have a good balance between being very calm and serene and have some spikes of high intensity with it. Looking forward to launch date hopefully soon for this one. And I know also that this game will also have like kind of like speedrun kind of things of like certain parts of the mountain, I believe, where you can kind of time yourself and see how fast you can scale the mountain. I think it'll be a really interesting game. It looks gorgeous. So very excited for that.
Listen, the only mountain climbing game I need is Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. Like that is the one and done. There never needs to be another climbing game.
Yeah.
It's already been done.
It's been perfected.
Perfected,
If there's no cauldron, if there's no naked man in the cauldron, I don't want to play it.
Yeah. If there's no naked man in the cauldron with the sledgehammer, I'm out.
Yeah.
So the only game I wanted to bring to the table today, as far as like what I'm looking forward to this month, is the Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist game. This is a dark fantasy Metroidvania Souls-like follow-up to Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Night. So there's another Souls-like Metroidvania. I didn't even think about that. And this is a game, well, the original Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Night is a game I enjoyed back from 2021. And Ender Magnolia, Bloom in the Mist is finally coming out of early access on January 23rd. I didn't try the early access because that's something I normally don't like to do. But it already has like overwhelmingly positive reviews, even just from the early access. And if it's anything like its predecessor, then I know I'm going to have a great time with this one. So one to look forward to for sure.
I mean, I've never played it, but I've only heard amazing things about Ender Lilies. I see that on a lot of people's like top 10, top 20 lists a lot for
it was
Metroidvania type games and things. So yeah,
and even artistically, like, this one just looks so good.
Yeah.
So I know I'm gonna have a great time with this, and that's is that next week that comes out? I think as of recording. Yeah,
awesome.
So very soon.
Speaking of things that are awesome, you're awesome if you do us a favor and share this episode with someone who loves indie games. As always, you can catch me playing some of the games we discussed on the show over at our YouTube channel at youtube.com/nerdsloth. And you can catch hundreds of hours of bonus content for just $1 a month by subscribing to the Nerdsloth Treehouse over at patreon.com/nerdsloth. We also have an exclusive podcast there called the Nerdsloth Podcast for those at the $5 tier as well, along with a few other exclusives only available to those members. At nerdsloth.com, you can also find a link to our Discord server, and you can join our subreddit for Indie Game Arcade and help us post more reviews of indie games so more folks can find games that suit their play style.
Game over!
But for now, that's game over for us. My name's Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And we'll continue on the next episode.
Continue!
Indie Game Arcade is recorded and produced by Sloth Creative. If you're looking for more gaming content, head over to youtube.com/nerdsloth. For additional podcasts, go to nerdsloth.com. If you'd like to support the show, there are multiple tiers available at patreon.com/nerdsloth, with hundreds of hours of bonus content from everything we do at Nerdsloth Creative, including bonus gameplay videos of the games we talk about on the show. The theme music for the show is Retro Game Tapes by Audio Lime. If you'd like to get in touch with us, or if you're an indie game developer and would like us to consider reviewing your game, send us an email to podcasts@nerdsloth.com with the subject line Indie Game Arcade.